Hi, my name is Javi Leishman, and for presentation, I chose to do mine on CSS Combinators. I hope I'm saying that right. Combinators? Not quite sure. Okay, so I just wanted to start with a little bit of a recap on what is CSS. It's the cascading style sheet. It's the CSS. It's a markup language that controls how the web page will look, and it adds effects or animation. So it basically is what makes your HTML pretty. Okay, these are the types of CSS selectors. There's 5 different types. We have simple selectors, pseudo class selectors, combinator selectors, pseudo elements selectors, and attribute selectors. But for this presentation, we're going to be focusing on the combinator selectors. So what is a combinator selector? A combinator is something that explains the relationship between selectors. So I know that sounds really, really broad, and it is, and it's kind of like out of context, this definition, but throughout this presentation, you can see how each combinator has a relationship between the selectors. So there's 4 different ones that we'll go over in the next slide, and they all just have a relationship, which is how they edit the HTML. Okay, so like I said, these are the 4 types of the CSS combinators. We have descendant selectors, which everything in the parentheses is how it shows up on your style sheet or in your style tag. So this one has a space. The child selector has the little alligator. Adjacent sibling selector is a plus sign, and general sibling selector is a little wiggly. I don't know what the right name for that is. Okay, first we're going to talk about the descendant selector. The CSS descendant selector is used with a simple space applied between the parent and child elements, with the parent element being stated first. So what that looks like is here we have a little bit of an example. We have your basic div and then your H2 with 2 paragraphs. So if you want to interact with the text inside the div tag, but don't want to apply changes to other sections of the HTML, the CSS descendant selector will help. For this situation, you want to change the color, font, boldness of the paragraph within div, and we're just going to do that. We're just using that as an example. First, you have to declare the parent tag, which in this case is the div, obviously, because that's what your H2 and your paragraph tags are inside. It's like the nesting, so you always know what the parent is because it's always less indented. Then you add a space and declare what child element you're going to be working on. So down here we have our div, which is the parent tag, and then we add a space. And we claimed the child element, which is the P. So we have div space P, and then we have our bracket, and then we have all the elements that we want to change, and then we have our closing bracket. This is just another example of it, and it has the outcome of what it will look like. So in here we have, so this actually has the style and included in our HTML document. It's just inside a style tag instead of having a link to a style sheet. But for this, we're going to be looking at this div right here, and then we have 2 paragraphs. Welcome to home shopping, and you can shop by department, and then a section with another paragraph in it. So for this, we only wanted to change the background color and the font size of the paragraphs. Looks like all the paragraphs. So we have our parent, so it's going to be everything inside the div, which is those 2. And then we have our child element, and so we have the 3 P's, so that if we didn't see what's on the right hand side, we can kind of imagine like, okay, so that means there should be 3 things that are going to be changed. And then we have our background color green, and then our font size. And then we have our brackets to close it off. And then we're also closing our style sheet to make sure that nothing's left open. And then if you were to like live cast it or host it, this is what it would show up. It would be your welcome to home shopping. You could shop by department, which matches up perfect with what we have inside our div. Our 3 paragraph tags. Looks like we've got that here, so that one's good. Okay, next we're going to go over the child selector. Okay, for this one, a child selector is used to match all the elements which are given, or excuse me, which are children of a specified element. It gives the relation between 2 elements. Once again, the relationship, relation, same thing. While a descendant selector will affect all elements of a type, the child selector will only affect elements under a direct parent. A good way to remember this is that a child will only listen to its direct parents. Okay, so here's an example that we have. Once again, we have our basic div, and then moving to H2, a paragraph, and then inside of our div, we have a button, and then another paragraph. So this paragraph says this paragraph tag is not a direct child of the first div. So and that's because it's a direct child of the button. But this little blurb down here is talking about this 3rd paragraph. So the reason that the 3rd paragraph tag is not considered a direct child of the div tag is that it's under or within the button tag. This now makes it a direct child of the button tag. So the following paragraph tag is still considered a direct child of the div tag, as it is still under and not contained within the button tag. So if it was inside of that, it would be the child, but because it's outside of it, it's not considered the child. But it's just kind of like, if it's contained inside of it, then it's the child. If it's not, then it's not part of it. Okay, we have another example here. And this one, again, the style is included in the HTML. We just have a style tag. But I mean, typically, I know for my classes, I just link to an external style sheet. Okay, so for this one, we have we kind of have a lot going on right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs happening. And then it's all inside the body and inside a div. So let's see. Looks like this div is only wanting to change the P that is a child of the div. So it looks like this paragraph is part of the div, and so is this one, because it's only inside of the div tag. This section is the parent of this paragraph, so it's not going to be part of the div child. And then same with these two, because it's underneath. So we can see that it's going to change to salmon, change some font size and a little bit of the padding. So you can see that everything that is in the div is changed. Okay. Okay, now we are going to talk about adjacent sibling selectors. An adjacent sibling combinator separates 2 selectors and matches the second element only if it immediately follows the first element and both are children of the same parent element. Okay, to use the adjacent sibling selector in your CSS style sheet, you simply need to put a plus sign. I've actually never seen this before, so I was really interested when I was learning about it and making this presentation, because I've never seen this before in any examples. I've never had any classes that teach it, but I guess people use it. So the correct format is to state which element you're working with as normal, then to add a space and add a plus sign. Insert another space and state which element you are targeting as the adjacent sibling target. So we have our H2 and then that plus sign. So that means that every paragraph with the H2. This is just an example. So this is our HTML and this will be our CSS and this is the result. So here we have a list with bullets. So this is what our basic HTML would look like. And then we have our li, first of type, and then that plus sign, li, color changed to red. Ta-da. Pretty simple. I like that one because it's really simple and it seems like a kind of intense topic. Like the definition is kind of crazy. So seeing an easy example is nice. This one is general sibling selector. The general sibling selector selects all elements that are next siblings of a specified element. Okay. So to use this, you have to insert the tilde character. It's that little squiggly line. You first state the selected top element, then you add a space and insert the tilde. Add another space and set the target element style. So we have our button and then the little squiggle and then our paragraph and of course our bracket and closing bracket. Okay, here we have another one of those kind of more simple examples. So here we have all of our HTML and then we have our CSS and then the outcome. So this one's really nice to have that outcome to look at because there's a lot going on here. Okay, so first we have this is not red. Here's a paragraph. Here is some code. And here is a red span. So you can see that that is bracketed or not bracketed, excuse me. It's tag. And then we have it right there. P dot or squiggle span. And then color is going to be changed to red. And here's the red span. And this is a red span. So we have both of those right there and right there. It's 2 lines on here, but it shows up as 1 line in here. And then all of this is ignored. And then once again, we have that span. And that is why that is red. Okay, that's it. I'll be posting this to the discussion board. So if you have any questions, let me know. And I would be more than happy to answer them. Or if I don't know the answer, to look them up. So yeah, thanks for watching.